chapter 10. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, there is a word from the Lord. Let everything that happened and hear what the Spirit will say today. Luke chapter 4, Hebrews chapter 10. I'm reading from the New International Version of the Scriptures. Luke chapter 4, verse number 16 declares, he went to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and on the Sabbath day he went into the synagogue, as was his custom. And he stood up to read. Hebrews 10:25 says, let us not give up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Luke 4:16, he went to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and on the Sabbath day he went into the synagogue, as was his custom, and he stood up to read. Let us not give up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Help me, look at your neighbor on either side and simply ask them, what's your habit? What's your habit? What's your habit? Look at your neighbor behind and say, neighbor, what's your habit? Can be an addiction. People who have often conquered the vice of smoking, drugs, and alcohol would say, I have kicked the habit. Which is an idiom that speaks of quitting something that was a habitual part of one's life. A habit is a cycle or a series of events and conduct that replicates itself again and again and again and again. It is a tendency to act or operate in a particular way or in a patterned fashion that is subtly and distinctively shaped over a period of time. Habits are not developed overnight, and habits are not produced by one act. But one act repeatedly done can soon become a habit. For example, the person who smokes is not addicted to cigarettes on the first puff or pack. It takes time after time, puff after puff, and smoke after smoke before the body becomes dependent upon the need or craving of nicotine. But when the body becomes dependent, what it craves, whether in terms of nicotine, which is an addictive drug that causes changes in the brain that makes you want to use it more and more, or whether it be liquor or marijuana or cocaine or crack or even sex. What it craves becomes a controlling force or even a stronghold in one's life. And the longer you do something, the harder it becomes to break. The ancient proverb says, old habits die hard. Especially a bad habit. Look at your neighbor and say, lend him your ear. Bad habits are like a comfortable bed. Bad habits are like a chair that reclines. They are easy to get into, but hard to get out of. Some people have a habit of biting their nails. Some people have a habit of picking their nose. Some people have a habit of pulling on and twirling their hair and sucking their thumb. Look at your neighbor and say, not sinful. But it gets on my nerve. And in these days, listen, church, and in these days of weaves and wigs, you can't pull and twirl too much. Or you will pull and twirl something out of place and change your public appearance. I wish I had a witness. Most of life is habitual, and all of us tend to do some of the same things today that we did on yesterday, the day before that, and every day of each week, month, and year. And many times what we do is done around the same time and in the same fashion. We don't alter anything. It is estimated that out of every 11,000 signals we receive from our five senses, our brain only consciously processes 40 of the 11,000. This is because we have a propensity to ignore 10,960 of the 11,000 in favor of repeating the same 40. Many people don't realize they created a habit within their life until it is pointed out by an outside informant. And many times we don't see what many times we do repeatedly without contemplation or planning and without an inkling of what we are doing and of what we are done. We just follow the habitual blueprint that has been established within our mind and life. Again, it's not overnight, but over a period of time. How many times have we driven somewhere that you've been before